So it's a good morning, a little later than planned, but that's life. Technical issues with equipment to do with focus and setup. Anyway, welcome to a different type of Pilates workout where we're going to use a bit of the principles of training. Your training effects are going to come through an endurance sense. In other words, you only get a training effect if you go one or two more than in terms of reps than you really feel you want to. The rules do apply. If any of the movement patterns go to the wrong place within the joint, sides of the joint, rather than staying with that sense of global muscular connection, then that movement pattern is misaligned usually, or you've done too much and the fatigue is pulling you out of the wrong muscle group. Nothing more to be said. It is abductors, it is side bottom, side thigh and abdominals. Your glutes will really know what they're doing and you will feel fatigued. Stay with it. We're going to try and do this together and do a different style of Pilates training. You're going to actually start lying on your back. If you need your head pad initially, then by all means get it. To make sure that the setup for your alignment is as it should be, I'm starting with the abdominal curling to make sure your spine relationship between the rib cage and the pelvic area is accurate. So start with the breath. Inhaling and exhaling and straight into the chin nod. Exhale to pull the chin to the throat, curl up and walk your thighs, your knees close together so you've got that level between knee to knee positioning. Inhale back down. Breathe out, chin nod. And yes, we're gently imprinting the lumbar area of the spine so you know exactly where it is. And you've got the chance to squiggle and wriggle, finding the hip bones to be level from left to right. At this point, you would have your heels pushing into the ground at the same time as the lumbar spine, feeling the belly pull it down to the ground, and the rib cage rolls, placing itself and getting rid of your weekend splendor. Exhaling, shrink, hollow and curl, and breathing in, down you go. Add the inner thighs pulling tight together, and then you've got the whole chain reaction going on in your body. Two more. And then this is the last one. We're going to stay for a moment. So staying here, pull the thighs up into your tabletop shape and just hold, pulling your elbows in. Thighs are tight in, chin to throat. You're breathing and holding. You could be doing the arm bouncing stuff for the 100 count, or you could just be breathing and finding your breath. Breathe. Everything's level. Your feet haven't veered off to one side. You've got another 3 or 4 breaths here, inhaling and exhaling. The purpose being to pull the abdomen down to connect your trunk core stabilizers, which will only be connected through the breathing. Are we together? 2 more inhalings and exhaling. And last one, the crown of the head still reaching up, shoulder blades off. Now pull your feet tight in. And for the first part of the sequence, take the head pad from under the skull and place it between the thighs. It's not dissimilar to what we've been doing on the reformer. The difference in this shape I'm now asking for is you're on your tippy toes. The rules would go, if on the toes it's too intense, then by all means place yourself down to your heels. We start the thigh work now with bridging. Remember, I've talked about reps. We're going to aim for 12 of everything. So breath in, exhale, squeeze on that pad and roll to your bridge position. Keep everything grounded through the hand and then rolling back down again. Inhaling. Exhaling. So you're flowing up through the spine, finding your ultimate bridge, and you're coming back down. Remember, if it's too intense at this point, go to heels to find a better connection. Usually the weaker you are on your hamstring to calf area, the more intense it'll be. But I don't want it to be so intense you just can't do it. If your calves are already cramping up, plant your heels down. If indeed they're not, then go to your tiptoes. If you're naturally high arched, which some of you are, we know, then you may want to moderate the tiptoes position just by not overly extending at the ankle. Okay, you have 3 more before we get to number 12. So this is number 10. Remember, if you need to rest off, then rest off, but then pick it up with us once you've had that moment to rest. You have 1 more where we'll stay up there. So the first sequence is straightforward, hip rolls, spine bridges, whatever you want to see them as. Now staying up there, keep the tilt of your pelvis and then squeeze the thighs against that pad. You've got 12 here. We've done 3, 4, 5. Keep the squeeze. Remember, lower the hips down or plant your heels down if indeed it's too intense. Don't rely solely on the leg muscles or the side bottom. If you can cue your pelvic floor simultaneously with the oblique, then you're going to get more for your money. Okay, you've got another 4 and 3 and 2. Now you're going to stay up and squeeze the pad and then pull the hip down and push back up. We've got 12 of these. This is like the lower lift. We do it with the feet on the foot bar in the studio just now. As you're lowering and lifting, you're getting intensity now to work with the hamstrings. Lowering and lifting. If your abdominal area stays switched on as you squeeze on that pad and you lower the hips and lift them up, then you're a winner. Okay, you've got another 2 and another 1. And then your final frontier, remove that pad. I'm introducing butterfly wings. So the thighs open, just like we do it with our elbows when the hands are under the head, lifting and lowering. Now, if you're not sure where your pelvis is, the cushion pad can just slip under the pelvic area. The more lordotic you are, the more you'll have to work at the pelvic tilt. The pelvic tilt ensures that you get all of this workload exactly where it belongs. We should be feeling the inner thighs now, saying hello. Keep this going for another 6. So you're opening and closing. Inhale. I love to follow my breath because it's my training. If you can follow your breath, because I think I've trained you. Another 4. Are we feeling the inner thighs working? You're pulling the inner thighs tight together as you open, close. Last 2. And last 1. Keep the squeeze. Take the pad from under the pelvis and roll back down. Now you're going to pull your knees into your chest for a 30-second moment. Breathe in and out. With the knees into the chest, you're allowing things to relax off again. We're going to repeat exactly what we've just done, another set, okay? So this is where you start to train in fitness terms for endurance of the muscles that we're targeting. Getting yourself ready for set 2 then. This is where it counts. The feet go so that the heels are to the bottom. Put the thigh pad back between the thigh bones. If you need to lower your heels down, then do so. Pull on the thigh pad, find your groundedness through the heels and the back of the pelvis, and then breath out. You've got your hip lifts, and breath in, rolling spine down. Exhaling, and inhaling. I would suggest actually that you do keep your heels down because it's more functional for the first sequence, and then we'll pick them up as we move through this. Remember, our aim is for around 12 of everything. So you've 6 more-ish after this one. Obviously I'm not someone counting because that's kind of, I'm too busy cueing and talking you through. So let's say there are 5 more. It matters that your technique doesn't dissolve into something non-recognisable. So the pelvis does roll the lumbar up. You do pull the thighs tight against whatever it is you're clenching between the thighs. And the effect of the inner thigh, outer thigh is working already. Pressing through your heels and making sure you roll back through your spine. You've got 2 more just like this. Last time, and up you are. Go to your tiptoes as you squeeze, release the pad now. The exhale is the pull in. Remember, if you need to put your heels down, do so. Otherwise, the arches are active, the inner thighs are active, the side bottom helping stabilize the pelvis, and your breath keeping your trunk stability system informed and involved. Okay, we've got another 6 and 5. Keep the neck and the skull heavy. 3 and 2. And last one, where we stay squeezing as we lower and lift. So this becomes a little bit punchier because you're pulling your hips down and pushing your knees forwards. Hinging at the hip, push the knees forwards. Remember, you can place your heels on the floor. Whichever way, at this moment, your inner thighs should feel more feedback than any other part of the legs. 6 more. Lowering and lifting. If it's any consolation to you, I know exactly where my adductors are. I'm probably feeling it as deeply as you're feeling it. 2 more. And this is your last one. Remember, we take the pad away. I'm going to encourage you to put it under the tailbone area. This is the butterfly time. So close and open. The staying on the tiptoes helps this one perform more efficiently. Flowing the thigh bones out, exhaling them back in. Your inner thigh will control this. If it's in your knees, then you're twisting your knees and not rolling onto the sides of your feet. I'm getting the quivers. Let's do 6 more. We go open and close. Opening. Pull the heels together and 4 more. 3 more. The cushion behind me is telling me that my pelvis is staying level. Last 2. And this is your last one. Squeeze the thighs tight together, remove the cushioned pad and roll your spine all the way down. Welcome to your inner thighs. Staying in position then, place the head pad under the skull. Find everything aligned and take a moment to breathe and allow the area we've just absolutely targeted to calm down. You're breathing in and out. It's around a 30-second rest phase to let the body ready to go again, really. The next sequence involves abdominals and legs. If you had to bias anything, you'd bias your abdominals, because if your legs are fatigued and your abs can't cope, go with the abs and then let the legs be secondary. They'll soon learn how to do this. So you're breathing in and out. Listen to the cueing from the next sequence. It's going to be lying into your imprint of your lumbar area. So already get yourself ready to be imprinted, core connected, and then next breath out, press your hands against the floor, pull your thighs tight together and find it so that you're level from kneecaps to tippy toes and behind you in the pelvic area. We're going to start with the butterfly thighs. Flex at your heels. We call it turnout or frog legs. Keep the hands in place or place them here, and you're going to close the thighs and open. Imagine you're squeezing a spring closed and open. In fact, maybe having your hands to pull them in, so the inner thighs are adding a resistance through the arms as they're almost resisting those legs closed and open. Think butterfly, think gentle imprint. And if the breath out shrinks the abdominal areas, your thighs close and open, then you're winning. Remember, if this goes into your back, you have to stop. People with wear and tear on the hip, you won't get the same openness. Doesn't matter, think more of a V. It's the closure of the legs coming tight together that matters. This is your last one, and open. So now hands to ground. Exhale, up into your turned out straight, and inhale back to your open winged butterfly. Exhale, go and reach the legs with energy, keep flexion at the ankle. Inhale. If you've got a mind to notice where the legs go, check they're not veering off to one side. The breath out is still your best friend for core hollowing and therefore keeping a true gentle imprint. I'm not jamming my lower back into the floor. I'm not tucking my bum under to get my tailbone up. I'm staying centered at the back of the pelvis waistband, and as I draw the thighs tight into the straight, the inner thigh, the adductor area working really hard. People, the next time you're up there, stay. So now we have pull down to where you were, which is the open wing, close the wings, open the wings again, extend. We come down to frog, we close the thighs, open the thighs and extend. Down, open the wings and close the wings, opening and extending. Open wing, close wing, open wing and extend. If you want to use your hands, do. And inhale to frog it, exhale to close and open it, inhale to extend it if you want a breath pattern. Reach away. You've got another 4 sequences. And again, the inner thigh, I think, is the biggest impact, although it does depend on body type, I have to say. All right, you've got 2 more full range of movement sequences. So we go close the wings, open the wings, extend the legs, and last time, 1, 2, reaching legs, and pull the knees into the chest. If you pull the knees into the chest and have a little rock, you're going to do another sequence just like you've done. And rules go, if you've done enough, you've hit endurance, that's fine. If you had to modify anything, you'd stop the open-close wing shape and go more curl and uncurl in our more traditional Pilates position parallel, okay? So don't worry if you can't exactly do it as prescribed. It could be something you're building up to. Are we ready to go again? You'll imprint the spine, flex through the feet. Make sure you've got symmetry from thigh bone to thigh bone, and here we go. Close the thighs, open the thighs. 1. Exhale, close and open. 3 and 4. Remember, you can either resist or assist. Depending on how old your body is, will depend on whether or not you need to help the legs close and help them open, or resist them. The younger the form and the less wear and tear on the hip, the more likely you are to offer a tiny bit of resistance just through the fingertips pulling. I do believe I've lost count, but let's say we've got 3 more. Breathe. If the breath out and the closure comes with abdominal compression, then you're winning all the way. Now we keep them open and they go to straight legs and back to the open leg. Press the hands to the floor as you do this. And press down through the back of the lumbar, press through the hands and squeeze through your heels. Pull the inner thighs tight. Check your alignment. If your head's heavy on that cushion, then that's a great thing too, as long as your neck isn't there. So leaving the head heavy helps keep the groundedness through the back of the skull, the back of the shoulders, and as the legs fatigue, your core should remain true and strong. I'd say we've got 3 more, because once again, Tanya Loxham has lost count. 2 more. And last one before we do the butterfly to the straight leg. So we go back to open legs, close the legs, open the legs, extend the legs, staying in turn out. Inhale, pull them in, open, close, exhale, push them away. Inhaling. And press the hands to the ground as you keep the body going. If you want to assist, then by all means do so, but if you can learn to reach up, pressing the head down, pressing the hands to the ground. So the breath in, the legs go wide, open, close, and reach. Description of the form goes wide, close, wide, reach. Calling it butterflies wings, wings open, wings close, wings open, extend. It's like a takeoff, isn't it? Close, open, extend. Last 2, close, open. Don't give up on the abdominals. Stop if you need to, and reach those legs, and then pull the knees into the chest and have a little rocky roll. Well done. You're ready now for the other part of the sequence, which is going to be side lying. Now the side lying positioning is always, in theory when you're younger, you can definitely hold it like this. We're going to have both legs bent to start with. I'm fluctuating between, every part of me wants to do it with my hand under my head, but I think in an older shoulder it goes to your neck. Whichever way, find what we know to be side lying. Once you've got your side lying position, and take time to make it good, there is time. Ideally your pelvis is pure neutral. On this sequencing, it could be that you actually end up slightly giving up on the underneath waist. It's not your aim, but it could happen. You've got your feet into clam, and the start of the sequence is the open close. Now there's little doubt, so we're back to butterflies, aren't we? There's little doubt that the abductors now and the adductors, that's the inner and outer thigh, will start to know that you've worked them really hard. Ideally what you get is a compacted connection going on. a kind of 3D awareness of the muscles that make up you from your hip bones all the way down to the outsides of the leg, the outsides of the knee. You've got another 5 here of the clam, where it's your heels that stay. Remember, the opening and closing is a range of movement that is honouring your hip stability positioning. I'd say do 4 more, and 3. You're able to keep the abdominal connection because you're such good Pilates students. Last 2, and last 1. So that's position 1 that we will revisit. Position 2, the legs gone straight. It's going to lift and lower. It's going to reach forwards and return. If you want your hand in place, lift, lower, forwards, return. That's your sequence. Okay, do this. As long as your hip stays relatively true from top to bottom, then don't worry. As long as the emphasis is your outer thigh, side of the bottom, then I'm happy with whatever stability you're managing to work with. The moment you feel it goes to your sacroiliac or the front of the knicker line, I call it, then you need to look at what you're doing and maybe go back to a more sideline balance-worthy position with smaller ranges of movement rather than these bigger lift and lowers. Now obviously I'm able to maintain a general pelvic stabilisation, neutral spine, but you'd hope I could after all these years. If you're not managing to do that, please make these moves smaller. We've got another 3. Remember, another way to make the breath work and stabilise you is to use it, all right? Use it on the exhale for your pelvic stability. The next time you end up with your legs straight out here, we're going to take it to leg circles, your most favourite moment. I would put my hand in place now to allow the ground to help me support the demand of the lifting up and over. Remember, the work face here is the up and over. The thigh bone is reaching as if out of the hip area itself, so it's reaching away from me. And then the articulation becomes smoother and less congested. And because I'm such an evil programmer, you have 2 more, I'm going to suggest that we do the opposite range now, so you go back the way you came. This should take you to a place of demand for endurance. When I talked earlier about the mind having to be ready for this, your mind has to be involved in asking of the body that one more than it wants to do. As long as it's in the right area, remember, side bottom, then you can't go far wrong. If it's in the wrong area, then it's your cue to rest. If it's simply about not giving up though, as in there's no pain, it's just, oh my goodness, do I have to climb this hill? The answer is yes, if you can. As we take that leg through 3 more, 2 more, and last one, leave that leg bent, let it have a chilled moment, and visualise the whole area here, which was hot and tight, getting the chance for the blood flow to permeate it more than. You go to your breathing because you've got another set here. You're breathing in and out, and the beauty of this workout would be that if you repeat it 3 times this week, I believe you'd be quite impressed with how much easier it becomes, which means your muscles are adapting. Are we ready? Start to find your setup, slowly but surely. Ideally, it's a neutral pelvic shape, and for those that can, it's your waist off the floor on the side you're lying, your head is heavy. We start with the traditional clam as you lift the leg and lower. So think butterfly, abduct and adduct. I can only tell you that if you go to thinking of your breathing, somehow everything gets lighter and easier. If all you're doing is jamming that leg up and down, then you're missing a trick that the training we've been doing together has given you. So the breath out to lift and the inhale to lower. If having your hand in front, let it go into front, whichever way. The heel stays squeezed on the underneath heel. The bottom leg in your mind is still pulling down against the ground as we abduct in rotation, lateral, turn out and return. This is your last 2, so Last one. And then stretch the leg and make it straight. Now we take it to the lift to the sky, the lower back down, the pull to the front and the return away. Up you reach, down you lower, forwards reach, return back. Lift and lower, flow and return. Your area of interest should be telling you, screaming at you that it's there, okay? This is where you use your mind. Make sure the analysis is that, oh yeah, that's right where it should be, which is the glute med, right into this area. No pinpoint. If you're getting a pinpoint experience, that's too intense and you need to make it a smaller, or you need to have a little rest. Usually a pinpoint experience suggests you've gone into too much extension or too much bum ducking under. Let's do 2 more lifts and lowers and forwards and back. 1 more lift and lower, forwards and back. Are you ready for these circles? Circle. In some ways, circling's slightly easier because it takes the attention slightly away from being totally glute med. The circling, remember, you reach the thigh bone out of the pelvis, you keep the breathing muscles, aiming to relatively accurately keep the pelvis still as the leg lifts up and over. Dig into the breath. 1 more. And are you ready for the reverse? Pulling the leg back, up and over. Back and over. Keeping the abdominal area true and sweet. Keeping pressing down through the underneath leg. The circles can be a bit as big as you can manage or as small as they have to be. I'm quivering away here. I'm clearly at what I'd call the end of my ability to endure. So by doing a few more here, I build the profile of the strength and the mobility of the hip. Obviously keeping the abs involved. 2 more. And the last one's going to be a good one. And let that go. Okay, allow the leg to reach away. You've got a few seconds here to let the body calm down. If you're smart, you'll breathe and breathe, allowing this whole area to relax. You know you've got to go to the other side, don't you? So let's get ourselves ready now. We come up. If you're using your head cushion, take it with you. And then take the time getting yourself into a good line. Alignment will always be everything for improvement and progression. Be true to your shoulder, needs to be stable and feel good. Your kneecaps are level. Know where your breath is. And then it's clamp position. Your heels are pointing to your sit bones. Pelvis is in neutral as you start the lift and lower. Get the breath working. The underneath leg will naturally feel connected because of what it's just done. So if you can keep speaking to, using your mind to connect with your body, the underneath leg as you abduct and adduct. It's now the time for your right hand side. Hopefully it's your better side. If you're doing your left hand side now, I pity you. All right, so the taking up, lateral rotation and returning down. Remember, if you're really struggling, waiting for hip resolution to happen through the NHS, then by all means keep this really small or even lift the whole leg and lower. Whichever way, we're going to move on from the butterfly moment here. Stretch the leg and it's going to go up, down, forwards, return. Exhaling. A gentle rhythm of breathing will keep you connected so that you're using the whole trunk stability sequence along with this leg. The leg movements forwards, backwards, up and down, forwards, return, lift and lower. The heavier you can keep your head, the more likely you are to stay out of your shoulder and into the lower body area from hip bone to thigh bone. You've got 4 more. Forwards and backwards, and with the lifting and lowering. The reach forwards is your most demanding moment, simply because you can only reach as far as your hamstrings allow the reach. So a lot of people I know in my company, the Pilates studio, your hamstrings will determine that you don't go too far forwards. Often going too far simply moves the whole hip. People, this is your last sequence of this one, and let that go to there. Are you ready for your leg circles? Circling the thigh within the pelvis, exploring the range of movement you can manage, keeping the leg reaching away from the hip bone, remember, and the circular action restoring a deep connection in the global area at the side bottom. So think very global side bum cheek. Imagine blood flow forcing its way to those tight muscles and allowing you to create a range of movement that you otherwise couldn't activate with. The more neutral your pelvis, the more true this exercise becomes as a Pilates strengthener rather than just generalist legs. You got 2 more, 1 more. Are you ready for the other way? Point the toe if you want to, and the underneath leg, I believe, through the side bottom and side thigh, should be getting involved in stabilising you from below, from the ground. So you're grounded on the underneath side, as the upper side is mobilising. Stability and mobility have to go hand in hand. And I can tell you I get a very different application activation here, because my right leg has different needs at the pelvis to my left. Therefore, muscular activation is just different. It's great, it's still not pinpoint by any stretch, it's definitely global. And I know that I'm working the whole side of my bottom, connecting to the outside of my thigh. And it's kind of wonderful but horrible. 2 more, big circles if you've got them. Last time. And then allow that leg to bend. Have a moment, remember, relax your neck and shoulders. You can feel when you let the leg rest, you can feel the blood flow, you can feel all the fibres that have been asked to shorten and lengthen, shorten and lengthen. They're suddenly going very zingy, which is a really good sign. Get your mind ready for your final sequence. This will be quite demanding, because we definitely have to attack the whole of the pelvic and thigh area through the whole of this workout. Getting ready then, kneecaps, thigh bones, knee on knee, heels together, upper body connection, lower body pelvic neutral, and you have your butterfly legs, or what we call clam. You open through the thigh and lower. Something interesting that takes place is, because of everything you've done, the integrity to the activation here should be more true. The feeling of power and the involvement of more than just a small part of the muscle should be taking place now. Keep the pelvic core if you can. If you need to put your hand in place, do. With another 6. Take it up and pull it down. Keep the head, neck and shoulders chilled. Up you go. On the breath out, ideally, squeeze the heel and down you come. 4 more. Remember, rest if it's going to the wrong place, or you really have done your 1 more than you thought you could. Last 2. And last 1, at which point we change and the leg is now parallel. Keep your alignment as you lift the sky, pull down, push forwards and pull back. If you think training the breath now, lift up on the breath out and pull forwards on the breath in, or separate it out even more. You go exhale up, inhale down, breath out forwards, breath in back. The movement of the hip, if it feels jammy, in other words awkward, then make it smaller, because it would suggest you're appealing to the wrong muscles to keep you going. So the smaller the move, that happens when your hip doesn't feel flowing. I can feel my hip naturally lifting and naturally coming forwards. The abduct is quite aggressive, but in a good way. On this side bottom, it lifts, and I find my underneath leg pushing down on the floor as my top leg lifts. This is your last full sequence. And are you ready for your circles? We go up and over. Exhale the over place, and I told you to get tired. Don't worry, you're not ill. It's called endurance work, which requires the reps to be big enough, in other words, beyond the number of 6, I say beyond the number of 10 in my language, therefore making sure the muscle fibres create endurance in their connection with the workout. If it's starting to go to the front of the hip, remember, keep it smaller, or work harder on your obliques. People, you've got one more in this direction. Point the toe. Are you ready? I was being wicked by adding this on, to be honest. You've now got the reverse direction, and the emphasis changes more to the back of the hip here. The leg still reaches out of the hip and reaches backwards and backwards. How many more? 6. Breathing. 5. Keep the head and neck relaxed. 4. Smooth and articulate. 3. And 2. Last one. And pull that leg in. Okay, from there, all you're going to do is lie on your back. This is your reward moment. Lying on your back and have your legs bent to start with. Let your right leg go over your left leg and then start pulling the right leg over to the left, and you look the opposite way. That will give you an immediate stretch out of everything that you were involved with in the side bottom. Keep that moment there. If you want to stretch the leg out so that the right leg is then straight, let that be, but keeping it bent is just as good. Ribs are smoothed down, shoulders are staying connected to the floor, and then roll that hair all the way back. Ready for the other side. So now my left leg goes on top of my right leg. I look the opposite way and I start to roll over. You'll find it easier to do on the side you haven't just worked, because that side's now eased off. Whichever way, your shoulders stay to the floor. The breath out connects the rib cage, grounding the shoulders so the rotation is at your hip. You're breathing in and out. I'm not going to stretch this leg out because I'll simply hit something. So you can if you want. Whichever way, on the next breath out, ground and roll through the pelvis. Pull your knees into your chest and imagine drawing circles with the thigh bones staying together as you go from side, centre, side. It's pleasant. If it's unpleasant, it's not right. Now go the other way round. You're just chilling out with blood flow and noticing where the ground is through the back of the pelvis, the sacral area, as you allow everything that has been asked to work to mellow out. People, the final thing you're going to do is keep those legs still, place them to the floor and stretch them away, let them roll out. Take your arms, big breath in. Leave your legs heavy, exhale, nod the chin, curl up, and look at those thighs reaching away. You're asking your obliques to come involved in the trunk rotation, rolling. You're breathing in and out. You're pulling your hip bones backwards, allowing the flexors to chill. Breathe, breathe, breathe. Last 2. And last 1. Slide the knees in. And there you have it. Okay, so I repeat, that was a different type of Pilates workout to build endurance in places where we end up with weakness. The significance of the endurance sequence is that as we get older, if we don't have that strength through the back of the pelvis, through our legs to keep us moving against gravity and improving the posture, then life's not going to go very far, is it? Tune in again. This week I'll do more like that because I quite liked it. So let me know how you felt about it. I'm going to probably do something like that on the abs and something like that on the upper back. Take care everybody and enjoy your day with your new bottoms and thighs. Goodbye for now. I don't think I recorded it. Oh! It has on Facebook Live, but what a waste! Damn it. Let's see, maybe I did. Hi, Tom.
I can still hear you. You're live.